That is why I am encouraging every Nigerian and by extension every African to embrace the billion coin, because what has happened to us, the impoverishment done to us by our elite in collaboration with the colonial masters, the solution to the problem is here. Our deliverance is here. It is time for our exodus to get out of this Egypt and get to our Canaan land. I think our time of freedom is here. Let's embrace it. Let's embrace it. Let's get in. Let's get in. That's what I'm saying here. There is problem everywhere in Nigeria. And I want to let you know one thing. The reason why I am concentrating more on Nigeria is not just because it's my country, but it is because whatever happened to Nigeria is already affecting the entire African nations. Africa as a continent, there is a saying that in every 10 Africans, 4 of them are Nigerians. So whatever happened to Africa, to Nigeria, is by extension having its effect on Africa. So if we can address the problem of poverty, insecurity, and unemployment in Nigeria, then the rest of African countries will be safe to live. Recently, the the Liberian president visited Nigeria and requested that Nigeria should give them 36,000 teachers to teach in their country. Okay? Meanwhile, Nigerian schools don't have teachers. Okay? Nigerian schools don't have teachers. And then another African country is requesting Nigeria to give them, or do I say borrow them, to borrow them 36,000 teachers. It's unthinkable. That is why I say, if we can address Nigerian problem, we will definitely address the problem of Africa. Okay? The honest people in government, now listen to this man, he continued. He said the honest people in government have pulled out. Look at what a governor said recently, just about a month ago. A governor said that he was resigning his position as the chief security officer because he is helpless. I mean a governor of a state. And by our constitution, a governor is a chief security officer of a state. But today, a governor is saying that he is resigning his office, not as a governor anyway, but his office as the chief security officer of the state. Because the killing that was going on in his state, he has no control over it. He will call the police chief, the police commissioner will not respond to him. He will call the army chief, the army will not respond to him. Because the army is taking instruction from the powers that be. The police are taking instruction from the powers that be. So even though the governor is concerned about the bloodshed, nobody responds to him. Because the police and the army are executing the program of the elites. Okay? Let's move on. Another governor said recently that we have to face the fact that there is a problem in Nigeria. We can't deny that. Buhari is just a common man like any one of us. Okay? He is just an ordinary one man in Nigeria. We cannot be hypocrites. Okay? Hiding facts because of a man. Why are people shivering because of him? Because he has a team of illiterate and fanatical followers. We can deal with them. Now listen to this. He said, he posed a question here, and I believe he has provided the answer also. He said, why are people shivering because of Buhari, the president of Nigeria? And then he now said, is it because he has a team of illiterate and fanatical followers? Okay? Now he went further to add this. He said, they should not hold us to ransom, though they have held us to ransom for the past 3 years anyway. That is why I'm saying that TVC is coming at the right time for Nigeria, for Africa, and the developing countries. Permit me to insert something here. The developed countries may be dragging feet about TBC. Well, I wouldn't blame them anyway. Because it's only those who are hungry that will admire the aroma of a tasty food. So since these people have already emigrated the resources in Africa and the developing countries to their countries, and they are sitting on the resources, unfortunately, most of us in the black nation and developing countries are not even aware of this. So that is why the enlightenment we are giving you today is very, very crucial, very, very important. Because it is only when you are enlightened that you will be provoked to act. So my enlightenment is to provoke you to action. I am provoking you to action. Okay? So the politicians see that, they become frightened. You see, we won't succumb to that. Let's do what is right. Put the right Nigerians to lead us. If not, we will destroy ourselves. Which is what is going on. Meanwhile, we are not destroying ourselves willingly, but it is a program, the agenda of the elite to destroy us by using us to destroy ourselves. That is a simple fact. Are you still with me? That is a simple fact. Now, let's continue. He said, we cannot be victims to these rascals. When you try to correct the president, they come out in their millions trying to abuse you. They don't even counteract your points with knowledge. If you think abusing us will deter us, you are mistaken. Can you see? The president have, an army of attackers who abuse anybody that criticizes government policy. And these are a group of illiterates. I recently remember the Nigerian president said in London, he said Nigerian youths are illiterates. They don't know anything. They are lazy people. They are lazy. But you can begin to imagine the Nigerian youths that are making wave all over the world. The president of the country is calling them lazy people. Meanwhile, these people are graduated, they don't have job. There are some people that have graduated for the past 3-4 years. They are still being fed by their parents. And you call them illiterate. You call them lazy. What do you expect them to do? But thank God for the billion coin. With all these, myriads of problems we are analyzing here, thank God for the billion coin, which is on a rescue mission. And I believe the first country to be rescued is Nigeria. Okay? The first country to be rescued is Nigeria. And I'm not surprised that the number of, subscription or membership from Nigeria is very high. Well, we need this billion coin. Even if other countries don't need it, don't worry. In Nigeria, we need TBC. So I would rather say, God bless the TBC admin for the creation and the design of TBC for Nigerians. Well, if others want to join us in enjoying the blessings of TBC, they are welcome on board. Okay? Now, let's move on. Let's move on. You say, if you think abusing us will deter us, you are mistaken. There is problem with and in the government. We have absolute failure in government. Listen to that again. Let me take that again. He said we have absolute failure in government. Okay? For, this man, as we speak, is a well-respected man and is somebody that supported this government before coming into power. But one thing they don't understand is that the elite have their own agenda. In fact, the elite are enjoying him. While the rest of us are crying and wailing and blood are being shed every day, the elite are happy and are smiling to the bank. Okay? He said we have absolute failure in the government. So people are dying. Things are not good. We cannot continue this be that criticized the last administration to high heaven because he was not doing their wish. And now the person that is doing their wish has come and they are still crying. Okay, let's listen to another question posed to him. Some people are saying that instead of criticizing President Buhari, you should reach out to him and advise him okay, and has on an advising, or has that already been done? Now, let's listen to his response. Let's listen to his response. I cannot get to the other room. Well, that is a slang in Nigeria here. Those of us in Nigeria understand that language. Because when the president's wife, I'm talking about the first lady, criticized her husband for his misadministration, maladministration, and how he has taken the country for granted, the president said they should forget about his wife, that his wife belongs to his other room, his kitchen and his other room, that his wife has nothing to contribute to the nation. All that the wife has to do is that the wife belongs to his kitchen and his other room. So when you talk about other room here in Nigeria, we already know what the other room is. So it's a slang now in the Nigerian political space that we know when you say the other room, you know what we're talking about. So this man say here, he cannot get to the other room. So the question is that, can you get to the other room? No. Okay. So within, because I am not I am not in this other room, because I'm not his wife, but even somebody who has access to the other room cannot get ideas into his head. Wow. That even the person that have access to the other room cannot get these ideas into his head. Okay? And so how do you blame somebody else who does not have access to the other room? You cannot change Buhari. Okay? You can't change Buhari. He is already cast in the mentality. He believes that most Nigerians, if not all, are rascals, thieves, and 419. That is the belief from Buhari, and you cannot change him. He believes only his own cycle of influence are the good people in Nigeria. This you cannot get across anything. Okay? So he has castigated Nigerians in many fora. And I mentioned one earlier where he said, Nigerian youth are lazy. At some point, he said the ministers are only thieves. They are lazy people. They are just there. They don't know anything. He said the National Assembly, they are just there collecting money, and they are not. They don't have anything to achieve. He said his problem in Nigeria are the judiciary. So the point is that if the judiciaries, the ministers that are part of the executive, and then the legislatures are all problems, who is now good to run this country? With you. Okay? So he has castigated Nigerians in many fora, and everybody, to him, he knows best. So he is somebody who always blames others. He does not take responsibility for anything. Remember, all this, we are trying to, no hope in this government for any man in this country. So if there is no hope for anyone in this government, that is why you need to embrace the billion coin and be part of this move, this non-violent revolution movement, so that you can be part of this, team that we are building that will be able to liberate humanity from poverty. Remember, if we can deliver Nigeria from poverty, almost half of Africans will be delivered, because the rest part of Africa depends on Nigeria. So if you can concentrate more on our membership drive in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Sierra Leone, in South Africa, and then, the remaining other African countries that are not embracing now, is very simple. The moment we take ground in Nigeria and some of these countries, the rest will just follow suit. Okay? Now let's move on. He said, we are talking about this publicly for two reasons. Number one, his followers have to accept that something is wrong. Secondly, for our own conscience sake, when something is getting terribly bad, people will say, look at that clergy. He did not say anything. We always remember that when there is serious problem, nobody will come and say, Sheikh Gumi did not speak. We spoke from the beginning. Okay? Now, let's listen to another question. You say that President Buhari is a human being like every one of us, and is full of mistakes. Jonathan called him. He addressed him as Sir. Even though mistakes were committed under him. Okay? Money was siphoned, but and he deals with leniency. What he does not do is violence. Whether diplomatically or politically, you can get results. But when there are mistakes here and there, but let's sit down and see how we can correct those mistakes. And single account. But he was doing it in phases, from parastatal to parastatal, from agency to agency. So, when this man came in, he implemented it at once, and there was no money in the system to run the government. Meanwhile, the person that introduced this policy knew that it has to be implemented in phases. But in order for him to show people